Hello, folks. This is Jamal Eigel, and you're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
Hello, folks. Welcome to 11 O'Clock Comics. This is episode 1008. I am one of your hosts. My name is David A. Price, and with me is...
In honor of playing Christmas music all day today with my lovely wife, I am, of course, Michael Bublé.
She wishes. No, you are not Michael Bublé.
Whoa,
kidding.
Hold on a second. Listen, Michael Bublé. I mean, she might want Michael Bublé's bank account, but I think
there we go.
Rather bang me than Michael Bublé.
You're probably right there. Although he probably has better. He's got the better health insurance up there in Canada. So.
Yeah, but he's like a short king, isn't he? I think
that. Yeah, I don't think he's all that tall. Yeah, the voice goes a long way, no doubt. You are not.
Yeah, but
Michael
as you know, I can carry a tune too. So it's all
yes, you can. Yeah, these big facts. Big facts. You are not the Canadian crooner. You are not Michael Bublé. You are none other than my good friend Jason Wood. Welcome.
What's up?
We are, of course, here to bring you some goodies. Talk about some comic books. We're going to do what we do. First, we are going to let you know that this episode is sponsored by our good friends at cheapgraphicnovels.com. Massive discounts every week on new releases. I believe there's an image sale going on, unless that email was older than I thought. But constantly with sales from the various publishers, you've got the Nick and Dents throughout the years, which that's really a lie. I don't. Their Nick and Dent books show up better than most books do from Amazon, so I'm not too worried about the Nick and Dent stuff.
This is biggest of facts. Yep.
It's crazy. So shout out to Max for those great deals. The Slackers got a bunch of a little bit of a sneak peek before they hit the site to see what Max had, but some of the other things that I kept for this little spot include DC Finest War. The Big Five arrived trade paperback for $23.99. Experience the courage and valor of DC's finest war heroes in this explosive collection. Step into the trenches, soar through the aerial dogfights, and navigate perilous seas in this thrilling collection of DC's greatest war stories. From infantry battles to covert missions, these tales bring to life the bravery, strategy, and sacrifice of soldiers on the front lines, with gripping narratives and iconic art from legendary creators like Joe Kubert and Russ Heath. This DC Finest volume is a testament to the resilience and courage of wartime heroes, offering readers an unforgettable journey through DC's most celebrated military adventures. This volume collects stories from Our Army at War, numbers 54 through 57, Star Spangled War stories, numbers 53 through 56, GI Combat, numbers 44 through 47, Black Hawk, numbers 108 through 111, Our Fighting Forces, numbers 17 through 20, and All American Men of War, numbers 41 through 44. For Jason, Friday Deluxe Edition hardcover for $34.99. Friday Fitzhugh.
Yes, sir.
Spent her childhood solving crimes and digging up occult secrets with her best friend, Lancelot Jones, the smartest boy in the world. But that was the past. Now she's in college, starting a new life on her own. Except when Friday comes home for the holidays, she's immediately pulled back into Lance's orbit and finds that something very strange and dangerous is happening in their little New England town. This is literally the Christmas vacation from hell, and neither of them may survive to see the new year. From award-winning creators Ed Brubaker and Marcos Martin, with brilliant colors by Munster Vicente, Friday is a chilling coming-of-age story about growing up, letting go, and uncovering the darkness hidden in familiar places. Collects all 3 volumes, plus extra features. And finally, The Incredible Hulk Omnibus Volume 3 hardcover for $74.99. You've got a direct market and a regular cover. This omnibus collects much of the Hulk's fabled 1970s era, where his popularity was at its peak and led to the fan-favorite television series. He's mean, he's green, and sometimes he's small to be seen. He's the Incredible Hulk. Yes, the Hulk's back in another omnibus, one boasting the first appearance of his lady love, Jarella, and her subatomic world, drawn by Marvel art icon Herb Trimpe and scribed by a trio of top writers. These classic stories also introduce Doc Samson, pit Hulk against Doctor Doom and Kang the Conqueror, pair him with Ant-Man, and put the Hulk on trial with the heroes of the Marvel Universe as his jury. You'll also get to enjoy some good old-fashioned Hulk smash as he fights heavyweights like the Rhino, the Abomination, and the Wendigo, not to mention the inhabitants of an entire island of giant monsters. Collects the Incredible Hulk, numbers 135 through 170, the Avengers, number 88, and Marvel Superheroes, number 16. Those are your specials for this week. I am having some wine tonight. What are you drinking?
I am also having some wine.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm drinking a Tinto Roja. It's a Spanish red blend from the region Ribera del Duero, which is the wine region that we're going to in 2 Saturdays. We'll be there.
Nice.
Getting our sip on. So yeah, figured get the palate ready. Get the palate
I
ready
love
for
it.
those wondrous Spanish grapes.
Well, I'm there with you because I am enjoying some. This is the first time for me. Signorio de la Eralta. It is from 2014. Is it a Rioja? It is a product of Spain. So I figured I'm not going. I can at least try to pretend that I might sort of know what you're going to be going through.
Oh yeah, you'll be there in spirit.
That's right. That's right.
I'll tell you, my kid is living the life of Riley. We talked to him last night. He had just gotten back. So last weekend, he and his friends were in Italy, right, in Florence and the mountain areas. So they split their time between the two. Had a blast. Then today he's flew to Paris to spend the weekend in France, and then next week we fly in and take his ass to wine country, and then to Portugal. So he's living. He's doing all right. He's
Yeah.
doing all right.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
See, sometimes middle kids have it okay.
Right.
I wouldn't know, but you know. Oh man! So what have you been reading?
Man, been reading a lot of stuff. I had a work trip, as you know. I had to head down to
yes.
Maryland to present to a bunch of lawyers. Um, Good news, I didn't get sued. That's always good when you get out of a room of 150 lawyers and they don't sue you. Bump. So I had a lot of time posting up in the hotel at night by myself. So brought some books. So I got some time, nice quality reading time. I honestly read a few things this week that I enjoyed thoroughly, but I think are very challenging books. These are not for the faint of heart. Yeah. Okay. Well, there's some other stuff we'll talk about later is a little more straightforward and a more universally recommendable. But the two graphic novels that I read this week are definitely acquired tastes. I think they are challenging books for many, and for those who vibe with it, they'll be absolute bangers. But that's probably a small subset of the listenership. We'll start with both of these are from Fantagraphics, by the way. We'll start with the book is called "The Past is a Grotesque Animal" by Tommi Parrish. So that name hopefully sounds familiar to our lovely listeners because we've talked about Tommy's work before. This is Tommy's third graphic novel, all through Fantagraphics. Back in 2018, they published their debut, The Lie and How We Told It. We talked about that. And then in 2022, during the plandemic, am I right, Dap? The plandemic, yeah?
Oh, yes.
Wink, wink. Yeah. We talked about their follow-up, Men I Trust. Enjoyed that as well. And this is the third. Tommy is a trans cartoonist from Australia. They, I believe, per the forward in this book, they wrote their first graphic novel in Melbourne, where they were from and born. They wrote their second graphic novel in Canada when they moved there, and they wrote their third graphic novel in the U.S., living here, and now they are back in Melbourne. But I said it was a challenging book because it is. This one is the first two were more cohesive, long form, one story graphic novels. This is a collection of 12 different stories that encompasses work from about a decade of Tommy's life. And I believe the work was from 2013 to 2023, so maybe 11 years. And it's just things that were on their mind. Thematically, each story is meant to address something that was on their mind over this time period. Things that, by their own admission, they were obsessed with, and that includes their queer identity, sex, loneliness, fear, battling with one's physical body, like body dysmorphia, and doubt, and a couple of other things. But you get the idea. Like, each of the chapters is meant to sort of they're working through something, right? Some a little bit more draconian and stressful than others. But either way, it's their just creative exploration of these concepts that are floating around their minds at given points of this decade. So Tommy is one of those artists, not dissimilar like a Zoe Thorogood, a mixed medium master. Tommy does not have a single style. Like, I can't describe Tommy's work to you listening to it, right? Like, it's they are incredibly confident in doing whatever suits them for the story. Whatever tool or medium they feel like using, they're going to use. That includes photographs, that includes montages of graphic overlays of photographs and mashups, that includes painting, charcoal, pencils, pens, traditional pen and ink, digitally rendered comics meant to look like other artists. It just every page is essentially a different vibe. Well, not every page, but there's many different visual styles and methods of cartooning in this book that totally belie explanations. So you have to see it to understand it. I honestly, as I was making notes for this, I just don't. There's no possible way I can describe the art in this other than say it. If you were just to leaf through this book, knowing it's an anthology, you may think it's written and drawn by 20 different people. I think, which is kind of the best way to convey it. Nothing really looks the same by design. And I say it's challenging because there's no real linear through line in this book. Some of the stories or some of the chapters are straightforward and clear, but visually maybe pretty challenging because they're sparse or they're abstract. Other stories are, I think, more conceptual and philosophical and symbolic in the things they're thinking through, but then they do an interesting choice where they get a little more on the nose or lifelike or realistic in the way they render. So I think it's a pretty accomplished decision. It seemed, and I'm kind of projecting here because I haven't had a chance to speak to Tommy directly, but it seems like they mixed, like, depending on the chapter, if the concepts were less narrative and more conceptual, they stuck with a more visually unassuming style, and for things that were more linear or clearly autobio or straightforward, they took more visual leaps, if that makes sense. So I like that they juxtapose the choices there. Like, it seems smart that they make it challenging, but they're not challenged. Like, it's not, I think they none of these chapters struck me as both narratively experimental and visually experimental in the same time, which I thought was smart. And then there's also pictures of them and their friends, and I presume lovers. I don't know. They don't label them, but just people living and laughing and hanging out together as well. So it's in a way, it feels in a way just kind of like you're getting glimpses into Tommy's mind, which is interesting. That's the kind of thing that works for me. I can hear half of our audience groaning, saying, "Oh, here's Wood with another, in my feels autobio book." I mean, yes, it is a genre that when it's done well, I do find it intriguing. I also find it particularly intriguing when it's a look into someone who is so clearly of a different worldview or a life experience than me, right? Like I can't on the surface identify with the life Tommy's lived in most cases. But that intrigues me because I find that that's going to be more interesting to me since I have no common ground with which to draw upon, right? So yeah, like I said, it's very interesting, hard to describe on an audio podcast. As always, Fantagraphics does a great job putting it together. It's a hardcover with a kind of a rough-hewn, toothy cover stock. And like I said, the book visually, it ranges from some is color, some is black and white, some is realistic, some is abstract. So just all in all, I really found it quite engaging. But I would say in terms of who should read this, well, if you're a fan of, say, Dash Shaw or Emily Carroll or Emil Ferris, I think this is the kind of thing that you'll vibe with. This is a decidedly Fantagraphics book, if that makes sense. So, like I said, I loved it. This, as far as I'm concerned, Tommy is 3 for 3 now as a graphic novelist. And so, for those of you who are daring and dare I say a bit more open-minded, which I think most of our audience is very open-minded, so kudos to y'all. Do check out "The Past is a Grotesque Animal."
There are a few preview pages on Fanta's site for this book.
Okay, yeah. So you can see what I mean with the different styles. Yeah. I mean, every page is different. Yeah.
There's one display of a bunch of photos of someone in a blue dress and in various states of undress. Is that Tommy? Do you know?
I'd have to see the page. I mean, Tommy is a relatively skinny, slight brunette woman.
It might be then.
If that's, yeah. But it looks like their lover is also, at least for part of the story or part of the 10 years, is also of a similar physical look too. So it could be them. Okay. I don't know. I offhand I don't know which pages are in the preview, okay. but yeah. Yeah, I mean, but that's entirely possible. That's Tommy.
It does look. It looks great, and I'm realizing that I never picked up the other 2 books, so maybe I'll finally find something to spend my Fanta books on.
Yeah, I really love. As you know, sometimes I'm not much for the back matter. Sometimes it's okay, but I like when they get in, get out, and I thought that this was good. I'll read the last page because it's short. Dear reader. Some notable events from the past 15 years. Twice, I gave away everything I owned, keeping only a few suitcases worth of the most precious things. I was sent all over the world to talk about comics. That, for a while, it was normal. Bread and pasta started giving me a tummy ache. I got much better at cooking. I started using reading glasses. At one point, I needed a place to live, so some friends helped me fix up an old camper. I parked it in the woods behind a buddy's place and loved living there for years. During the plague, one of my 3 parents, Marnie, died, and I couldn't get back to Australia in time to say goodbye. I wrote 3 books. I got a dog. I crawled out of at least 2 closets. I made friends and got evicted 100 million times. I fell in and out of love. Some breakups were nice and others gruesome. Over the years, I moved from Melbourne to Canada, then to the US, and just recently back to Melbourne. This book is dedicated to Marnie, Moggy, Lee, Ada, Tycho, Fatima, Betty, Mum, Dad, Cool Dog, Free Palestine, Free Palestine, Free Palestine, Free Palestine.
Love it.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That needs it. All right. I Man, I was so looking forward to trying something different, because I love me some Elseworlds, and this week saw the release of the first issue of Static slash Batman Beyond, and I tapped out about 3 pages in. I was
For
just,
Batman Beyond?
for Static slash Batman Beyond. So it's
Oh,
Virgil
got
Hawkins
it,
in
got
20
it.
years in the
Okay.
future. And it starts off neat enough because you've got Icon, you've got Superman, you've got Big Barda, you've got Warhawk, you've got a couple of characters that are new, but I just wasn't feeling the art. It completely detracted me from continuing with the
Who
story.
was the artist? That?
I according to the cover, it was well. See, that's the thing, because I didn't see a credit page. I only went by what was on
okay.
the actual cover, so I don't even have I had nothing to write down. But it was I'll get back to you on that. But
Damn, you don't even know who the artist is. That's crazy.
I know, and
Bro, that is crazy.
it absolutely it. So it's the cover's kind of neat, and I'm not trying to harp on something because I mean I'm not going to go long on something that I didn't read.
I
And
was
I'm
gonna
not
say you
trying
read
to
3 pages.
just-
Yeah.
Right. It's an artist who's done milestone work before. It's Nicholas Draper Ivy, and I've seen their work in if not
I'm looking at it now. Yeah.
I believe it was in the previous Static miniseries. It's written by Evan Narcissi and colored by Will Quintana. And like I said, because it takes place, so the story starts off in space, and there's just so much going on in the backgrounds, and the characters just look like they're thrown on to like it. I couldn't. I wanted to, because I love it's Milestone and it's Batman Beyond, so it's like a Reese's peanut butter cup. Like, how am I not going to like this? But they didn't want me to like it, so I'm not going to talk about something that I was really happy about, looking forward to, because it made my top 5 this week on the Slack. Sadly, though.
Hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not going to talk about something I didn't read. Instead, I caught up on Tom King's Wonder Woman, and I realized
Much better choice of your time.
So I went back a few months to the to the second part of a mystery that Wonder Woman had to solve, because it was a murder on Mount Olympus, and Batman is basically kind of being held hostage. If Wonder Woman can't solve this, then Batman is going to be sacrificed to the gods. But this issue 21, is illustrated by Guillaume March, who I'm a big fan of, even though styles changed a little bit over the years, but still I like March's work. So that was a fun issue, and how she solves it, and Wonder Woman kicking ass, and not taking any shit from anybody. Love to see that. Then the following issue was weird. It was sort of kind of a fill-in ish issue, but it does set up the next arc, which is currently ongoing. But this is the prelude to the Island of Mice and Men. This issue is illustrated by Caitlin Yarsky and colored by Alex Guimaraes, and it's a story about Mouse Man basically taking over the capital, and so Wonder Woman is going to save the day. And there are various mice of different sizes. Some are massive, you can ride like a dinosaur, and then there are others that are regular mouse size, and everything in between. But the capital has just been practically demolished. The mice running all over the place, and this is early on in Diana's and Steve's relationship, because he wakes up the next morning in bed to find a note by her, only to turn on the news and to see that she's at the Capitol. So then he goes to not save her, but to at least see if he can assist her. and all she is telling Steve is to, stay back, holster your weapon, do not hurt the mice. They're just being mice. You can't, they're doing what they do, but so you can't fault them for that. So she kind of saves the day, and the last page, it basically was all orchestrated by the king who was at the King of America, who was at the start of Tom's Wonder Woman run. So it circles back to that, which I can understand why this issue is here, but because of that appearance in that last panel on this last page, I was, for a split second, I was playing armchair editor, and I was like, oh, this issue, because of the following arc, I felt this issue would have been great earlier on in the series, because the current arc, continuing the Island of Mice and Men, is a lot darker, and if I feel it would have been neat if Mouse Man was like Kite Man, just a throwaway character that you saw early on in this run, and now here we are 2 years later, and he's back. So because I'm binging it, and I just read it one after another, it was a lot of Mouse Man all at once, and so that there was no element of surprise. Obviously, it's the prelude. It's all part of this arc. So there's nothing to try to, haha, reader, this guy's back, and bet you missed him. So Tom's doing what Tom does, but because of the way the issues were playing out, you had the two-parter with Batman, then you had this with a guest artist, because the next issues are illustrated by series regular artist Daniel Sampari, and it's so now it's present day Wonder Woman, and everybody on this island, all they say, they just keep repeating it. It's similar to I Am Groot. They just keep repeating the same phrases. Mouse Man knows, mice have ears, and depending on how you say, Mice Man knows, or however, wherever you inflect things, will obviously determine what it is you mean. And they also do, they put their hands on their heads as if they're like imitating mouse ears. It's just, but that's all this island is. And so for the most part, the island has a school, but there are parts of the island that look very much run down. The vehicles are, even though it's a school bus, they're mice drawn. So you have large mice pulling vehicles, having people traveling around town. The focus is one particular young lady, and of course, we don't know anybody's name because all anybody's saying is Mouse Man knows. But it is a very dark police state. It's very authoritarian. It's a problem. At least we find out in this arc that this island was meant to be superhero free, because while superheroes serve a purpose and they're there to protect us, the people who started the man who started this island is of the belief that while superheroes do protect and they do look out for us, it's probably their presence that causes people to want to attack. And so therefore, if we get away from superheroes, if we leave and live on our own island, free from all of this, then we'll be safe. Unfortunately, things don't work out that way. And
do they ever? I mean,
right. So on the cruise ship to this island, Mouse Man in his civilian identity. He's also on the ship, and he strikes up a friendship with the man who owns the island and wants and brings everybody there. But little small crimes have started cropping up, whether people, just like petty robbery, things like that. And but obviously we don't want superheroes here. But someone or something, there should still be some order here. And that's when Mouse Man gets the idea that he's going to kind of like just start up his own little street police force. And anytime, and it becomes so strict, so absolute that regard the smallest infraction, and that's all it takes. So because things start to go a little overboard, and they start to get a little out of hand, the originator of the island, we find out that he tries to he makes an attempt to reach out to Superman. And Mouse Man's like, oh man, you said no heroes, bro. Like, what are you doing? I can't believe you of all people. You're going to bring superheroes here? Like, that's not how this goes. And he meets his demise. But so now Wonder Woman is there to save someone because someone very near and dear to her is on this island. So she's there to rescue her. But obviously superheroes aren't supposed to be on this island. So she's not getting any of the support from the Justice League because even Superman and Batman are like, well, listen, Mr. Terrific, they're all like, listen, lady, like, we have rules to follow. And but of course Wonder Woman's going to Wonder Woman. So she's not going to hear that. And so she makes her way to this island, and oh God, she brings her baby with her, which is fine. You're Wonder Woman, but if you have to save the day, and you have to put your baby somewhere safe so that it's not harmed while you're saving said day, you better hope that wherever you stash this kid is away from prying eyes and Mouse Man ears. And unfortunately, because the arc isn't over yet, and so I'm only up to the latest issue. Wonder Woman faces Mouse Man, and they go toe to toe. I mean, he holds his own against Wonder Woman, and apparently it's some bullshit because like he's imbued with the blood of all the mice on the island and this, that, and the other. So I don't know what kind of hoodoo he's got going on, but it's it's the art's fantastic, of course. I mean, it has been. And Daniel's an amazing artist. I love his version of Wonder Woman. But we do get a lot of Wonder Woman saving the day, saving people. It's a great arc. Can't wait to see how it ends. But yeah, there was just why couldn't you just keep the baby on the watchtower, man? Like, what are you doing? I don't. So yeah, so there's that. But no, this was a great issue. It's shaping up to be a great arc, even though, and obviously Mouse Man, he can speak the Queen's English. There's no problem with him. There are other, people in his orbit, his soldiers, his commanders. They're able to speak freely, but it's pretty much mostly just the civilians. But yeah, there is one word that nobody on the island can ever say. No subjects are allowed to discuss this particular subject. No one can ever say
no, did he?
Wonder Woman. And so
Wonder
so
Woman,
that's because obviously that's the one who she embarrassed him back at the Capitol years ago. So that's the one person that he doesn't want to see. But yeah, it's a I'm sure there's an analogy here somewhere with the state of the world, and if anybody can write that kind of tale, it's definitely Tom. But yeah, it's been it's a great arc. I'm really I'm digging it a lot. You've got I can't wait to see how it wraps up. But yeah, the fourth part is the most recent one, and then I don't know if it's ending with I don't know if it wraps up with parts 5 or 6, but yeah, it's been it's been weird, but it's been really good. So kudos to Tom for still kicking ass on.
Yeah,
On
we've said it before, like our collective adoration for Absolute Wonder Woman, which is totally justifiable because it's an amazing comic. Um, and I think beyond us, even like that comic gets so much praise, and again, deservedly so, that it is somewhat weirdly masking the fact that I think Tom is in the midst of one of the best Wonder Woman like proper runs of all time. Like I think it's just like it's one of those weird things where we have this strange, never before, likely never again situation where there are multiple excellent Wonder Woman books at the same time, and like it's just I don't feel like Tom's book is getting talked about nearly enough because of Kelly's book, because Kelly and Hayden's book. So yeah, I'm glad you brought it up.
And it's and I mean, and obviously it had a head start. It was out for about a year longer than
Oh, and it was
the
getting
actual
talked
book.
about that first year. I mean,
Yes.
we were all
Oh yeah.
talking about it. Yeah.
Especially the Amazons with
Yeah,
America
yeah.
trying to I mean it was
Yep.
it's fantastic and obviously I mean and the art plays a big part in that because it like I said Daniel's work is amazing on this. But yeah, it's one of those things and even so if there was no Absolute Wonder Woman, Tom's work would still be great and yeah, I feel like it's going to end up being talked about the same way Rucka's run would be talked about, or even Azrael and Chinese. I mean, I'm partial to Perez's because obviously that followed Crisis on Infinite Earth, so that's just that connection is strong for me. And yeah, and obviously it's also George, but yeah, I mean, of all the when you look at Tom's body of work, and you still think about other characters that you'd like to see Tom take on. I don't know where on the list Wonder Woman would have been for me prior to him writing Wonder Woman.
Right. Well, you listen. You're a smart man, but you're not perfect. So you didn't see the forest for the trees. You know what I mean? It's just,
It's true. I mean, we didn't. I mean, he gave us Human Target before he gave us Wonder Woman. For Christ's sake, I mean, there are other characters that I would think that Tom would have ready to go, and then here's Wonder Woman. So I'm very happily and pleasantly surprised that he's able to spend some time with this character because he's been doing phenomenal work with it. Great stuff.
nice.
Okay.
No.
No. What were we gonna say?
I was gonna say. I was in my happy place this week.
Oh,
My happy place, Bo, because let me listen. When you get a creator that you adore doing something that makes you happy, right? When you get two creators that you adore working together on a comic, it's like Nirvana. And I got that this week. Really last week, but we're talking about it this week. Because I got the first issue, as I'm sure many of our listeners did, hopefully as well, from Dark Horse of Space Scouts #1. Space Scouts is a 3-issue prestige limited series written by my boo, Matthew Kindt, but way more importantly, frankly, drawn by my boo, like boo-boo, David Rubín. You know David Rubín makes my toes curl. You know the David Rubín visuals are always going to put me in the right mindset, always going to make me happy, regardless of what we're talking about. And I will say, I was thinking about it's funny because I was actually going through this mind exercise this week after reading this. That David Rubín, we were first. I mean, I was first, and I think many American readers were first introduced to David Rubín when he was working on the Paul Pope stuff.
yeah.
And part of that was because he has a style evocative of Paul, right? Like that was by design, and he was going to, sort of alternate with Paul. Obviously, Paul being Paul, we never got all the other volumes of that we were supposed to. But I was just thinking about the fact that, like, in a way, I fell in love with him because he was a quote unquote Paul Pope clone. But as we've talked about over the years, I mean, he's Paul Pope's age, so it's unfair to call him a Paul Pope clone. He was doing comics basically for the same amount of time as Paul, just in Europe, even though their styles are certainly very overlapping. But two, props to Rubín for being mad prolific. I mean, he is drawing comics all the fucking time. Like, dude never is not making comics. And I just, like, it's so great because, you think about artists like Paul or like Raphael Grampa, or, there's a bunch that we could go through that you adore, but they just don't do stuff very often. And so when they do stuff, I mean, of course, we're giddy about it, but like they just don't do stuff a lot. And it's like, whereas Rubín, I don't think there's another artist alive that I enjoy more than Rubín. I mean, there's others that I enjoy as much, but and yet dude is putting out comics pretty much every month, every or at least like 9-10 months a year, right? Like Operation Sunshine did a big run on. Yeah. So I mean, I listen, I knew the fact that it was Kindt and Rubín working together again. This is their I believe their third title together. They did Ether, and then they did the OGN through Kickstarter with Lemire also co-writing. Both were incredible. So I knew I would enjoy this for sure. And of course I did. It is Space Scouts is a story that I think, much like Jeff's work on Black Hammer, I don't think Matt is breaking any new ground conceptually here. I think he and David are telling a really great version of a story that we've seen before. So this is a sci-fi book, as you might guess, being that it's called Space Scouts. And the premise is kind of like, how do I put this? I'd say it's like a mashup of Hunger Games meets Legion of Superheroes. So our heroine is, I'm guessing she's like in her late teens. They don't really say. And she lives on an agrarian planet that is desolate. It's impoverished, not a lot of natural resources. Everybody's kind of on the struggle bus globally. And they're part of a federation of planets, of course, because aren't we all? And she has been nominated to participate in a contest that is an annual contest. And this contest brings 100 young people together, one from each with each one representing a planet. And the winner of they do a contest, and the winner of the contest each year becomes a member of the Space Scouts, which is essentially the Legion of Superheroes. It is a superpowered force of intergalactic protectors of their federation. And there are 4 original members, the leaders, and then there are I believe 64 other members, which are coincident with the 64 annual competitions they've had. And it's like Hunger Games because if you do happen to be the lucky winner of the 100, you become not only a member, but your family becomes royalty. Your planet becomes a kingdom, and basically your entire planet's fortunes are permanently reversed, and improved, such that everyone is raised out of poverty and held much higher regard. So it's like not only winning the lottery for yourself or your family, it's like winning the lottery for your entire planet, right? So imagine the immense opportunity and also the feeling of pressure. So our heroine, she doesn't, her parents nominate her, or I guess if they didn't nominate her, I guess they claim that it was silly not to nominate her because the Federation's always like using drones and scouts to find these young potential members anyway, so she would have been picked anyway. But the thing is they're looking for mutants, basically, like people in the Federation that have genetic predispositions that give them powers. And so with that setup, again, nothing all that unfamiliar. It's tropes we've seen before. The first issue is essentially setting that up and then having her go and participate in this competition. And remember, this is only a 3-issue series, so they kind of gets to get, and they gets to fucking, as they say. So she competes and gets very far in the first issue. She makes it all the way to the top 10 of the 100. It might be 1,000 actually. Actually, you know what? No, it is. It's 1,000. I'm sorry, I was wrong. It starts off as 1,000, and like the first event of the competition winnows it down to 100, and then that 100 spends a bunch of weeks competing till they get down to this top 10. The first issue ends essentially with the 10 remaining picks being sent to a planet to do battle with this thing, and it's like, basically the winner of that battle will be the choice. But it's a lot of fun, man. And Rubín is a master of this kind of visuals. He's done a lot of otherworldly world creating stories where he gets to create humanoid creatures and monsters and wild stuff. And so he's right in his happy place here. It was a lot of fun, man. It was a lot of fun, and it was a quick read. I think after reading the first issue, I have some guesses as to how this is going to play out, but I'm definitely not going to try and overthink it because I want to enjoy the ride for whatever it is. And I guess if I have a complaint, it's just that it's only 3 issues. For shame, it should be like a 20-issue series. But no, man, listen, I think Kindt and Rubín are almost pretty much foolproof. They cannot miss. And so, yeah, so with no surprise to anyone that knows me, I implore you all to check out Space Scouts by Dark Horse. It's incredible. And you should have read it because we get free copies of Dark Horse books.
Yes.
So you have no
yeah.
excuses.
I did drop the ball on that.
You got 2 more months. You got 2 more months. You can just read it all in one fell swoop.
I'll catch up. As I was also on the, I failed to go through the Image comps and grab the Power Fantasy for this week as well. So yeah, I'm
yes.
I'm slacking. I'm slacking this week big time. I will rectify this.
Dude, we got to get Kieran on this fucking show. We got to get Kieran on the goddamn show.
Yes, I agree. We'll add him to the list.
I know the big list.
Maybe that's what I'll do when you're in Spain. I'll send out some emails.
Okay.
And because I got to reach out to Phil. It's been a minute. So yeah, that's it does. I mean, I do. It's a creative team that I love. I mean, I don't love them the way you do. I don't think I can. I don't think I'd be allowed to legally. But no, I will be able to. You put the kibosh on that big time. So I can love them from afar. But yeah, it's a and I love Rubín's art. I like Matt's writing. They do make a great creative team. This does sound fun. 3 issues is not a massive commitment, so it's easy to get in and out. Yeah, I will definitely be checking that out. I don't think I have anything from Dark Horse, but I do have, before I get to that first issue, I was going through and just trying to clear things up that have been sitting around for a minute, and I figured, you know what? I'm jonesing. I'm starting to get that withdrawal itch, and I need some Spider-Verse. And since the 3rd movie isn't coming out anytime in the immediate future, let me go through some of Marvel's Spidey multiverse offerings. And there was a limited series called Spider Society, and it is written by Alex Segura, who writes for pretty much every publisher, and does good work. The first issue and the 4th issue, beautifully illustrated by Scott Godlewski. And Scott does make an appearance in the 2nd issue for a little bit, for a couple pages here and there, but not maybe, I don't know if it's half the issue, but the also in the 2nd issue, Andre Genolet is also the artist, and in the 3rd issue, the art is by Ruairí Coleman. So can butcher the first name. Last name's going to be pretty simple. But so these 4 issues. Now I'm a little bit at a loss at who some of these spider characters were. There is I mean, the story starts off with Gwen visiting Miles in the 616, and then they get the ping for a little from Madam Web. So let's see. They're gonna go see what she's got going on. But while they're doing that, elsewhere, there is a female Doc Ock. There's Electro, female Electro. I don't know if it's the same Electro that's the 616, because I believe that's currently a female. There is a female Green Goblin, and we find out that Green Goblin is the Gwen Stacy from that universe. The Gwen and Miles show up at the Spider Society, and there's a dinosaur Spider-Man. There's a looks like a Scottish Spider-Man. Hobie, Spider-Punk is there, of course. Spider-Man from India is there. And then you got a couple of Spideys that I've never seen. There's even a Spider-Cat. So Spider-Ham is there also, but as a Spider-Boy. There is a Hunter Spider who's basically Kraven as Spider-Man. There's this dude called Webweaver who is black, and the mask, the face mask, the head mask is yellow. There's yellow accents or gold within the suit. Very fashion forward, and that seems to be that alter ego's living, I guess, is working in fashion. There's Spider Ramen, which is just a bowl, but the bowl is like Spider-Man's mask, and inside the bowl is a tasty ramen dish, and I don't know how it's talking, but okay. And then there's this dude who is Weapon 8, who they're kind of calling him the Wolverine Spider-Man, but the costume is blue, and the eyes, the spider eyes, are red, and it looks more like Cyclops than Wolverine. There's nothing that says Wolverine to me about the way this character looks. It's a blue suit, yellow boots, the yellow tentacles like the Iron Spider has, but it's blue and gold. And because of the way the mask is, it doesn't cover the whole face. It just reminds me of Cyclops. And every time they mention how he's like, a Weapon 7, and how he's very violent and he's supposed to be like Wolverine, I'm not seeing Wolverine. Anyway, you've got even old school Jess, Spider-Woman, shows up. Got a whole bunch of Spider people here. And then all of a sudden, someone they've never seen before, which is the Spider-Woman from the second Spider-Verse movie, the badass chick on the badass motorcycle. She shows up, and they're like, "And you are?" And she's like, "Well, you're joking, right? I'm Spider-Woman. I got the invite, so let's get to work." And the editor's note is, "You knew her from those great movies." And of course, Edge of Spider-Verse #4. So this isn't the first appearance in a comic book form, but it's the first time I've seen the character in a comic book, not following the movie. So all of a sudden, the Sinister Squadron attack, led by the Green Goblin, and you've got a bunch of various spider foes, gender benders, and just weird looking characters. We have no idea where Peter or Miguel happen to be yet. And there's also an evil Madam Web, which is how they're able to attack and know the moves of our heroes. And Aranya is basically she's going to be the field leader. Because so once the majority of these of the Spider Society are disposed of, we get a we get a small group of spider people who are going to take charge and take the fight to the baddies. So we've got so Madam Web puts Aranya in charge, Spider Woman from the Spider Verse, Web Weaver, Weapon 8, Spider Punk, Hunter Spider, and Spider Cat, and so they're off to save the day. We find Miguel, Spider-Man 2099. He is he's basically under he's being tortured by, I'm guessing it's the Jackal, or at least a version of the Jackal, and someone in that spider group is a traitor. I'm not going to not going to spoil it, but yes, there's a traitor in their midst. Everybody teams up to take down the dude, and things still really don't go all that well for our heroes. They always seem to be on the back foot. They very rarely can they get a can they get a leg up on anybody. We get some romantic tension, more or less, with Aranya and Spider Punk, to kind of just try to lighten the mood a little bit. Madam Web, however, the evil Madam Web, is none other than that universe's Aunt May, and she, I guess, when Ben died, and then she finds, I guess Peter was Spider-Man in that universe. Peter dies, and May just kind of like loses her shit, and she goes to Norman Osborn. And we don't know, at least based on these issues, we don't know what Norman may have done to her, other than he did end up turning her into Madam Web. And then she did things that we find out that turned Gwen into Green Goblin, and Gwen thought it was her own doing. Gwen thought she was doing this for her reasons. But no, she was manipulated, and she was positioned, and she's feeling some kind of way now. So there's the things are fraying even within the bad guys' ranks. It's of course the good guys win after everything. Travesty from 2099 is here. He's of course a Hulk with 4 arms. It's a fun little story to just see a shitload of characters that you never really get to see in various versions. I love my multiverse. I love alternate realities. I'm a big fan of seeing other characters that aren't who they seem to be. So this is something that is right up my alley. The fact that Godlewski draws a good chunk of it makes me happy. And again, though, I mean, this was my concern with the Book of L maxi series going on right now that Kennedy Johnson is writing, because as much as I love Scott's art, I know he's not one to go too many issues before needing a break. And that was evident here in this 4-issue miniseries. That was evident in that Green Lantern and or Legion of Superheroes miniseries that he drew a couple years ago. I mean, even Copperhead, which, I mean, that was an Image book, so you can take some time off because you need the month off so you can put out the collection. But yeah, no, this was fun. Yeah, so we get a short, very condensed version of Aunt Madam Web's origin. The heroes overcome. They kick all sorts of ass. Spider Cat, especially. There's a bit of a bromance between Web Weaver and Weapon 8. But yeah, I just thought it was I just thought it was pretty fun, and the way our heroes saved the day. There was almost going to be a sacrifice. Thankfully, that didn't happen. They ended up being able to fool the bad guys into kind of saving the day. But yeah, it was fun. I got a kick out of it. It was it. I'm not gonna call it a palate cleanser. It was just something that was different. That it's not that different. It's still big two story, but it was its own thing, and I was happy about that. Got to see a bunch of characters, like I said, that are completely new to me, and I like Hobie. I like Spider Punk a lot. So to see him kind of kicking ass quite a bit. I don't know if it's a movie thing, but they seem to be drawing Spider-Man 2099 a little bulkier than he ever was. I mean, I'm not saying that you all have to draw the way Rick Leonardi did back in the 90s, but he was never. It's like Jim Lee drawing Cyclops all of a sudden. It's like, why is Miguel like so? Why is he huge? Like he's not supposed to be Hulk size. He's supposed to be a little slender, or at least a little more slender than this. But yeah, so ever since the movie, they seem to want to draw Spider-Man 2099 just in this big, broad-shouldered, menacing kind of figure. But aside from that, this is a fun little miniseries. So if you see it in if you find the trade for $5 or whatever, I'd recommend it. There are absolutely. I mean, I don't want to do one of those glowing recommendations where there are worse ways to spend an afternoon, but no, this was a nice little break from the norm, and there's enough there that's familiar that I can kick my feet up and enjoy it. And there are things that happened in it that kind of made me I might want to track things down and see where some of these other characters may have appeared. So it's nice to have that little bit of a kind of a scavenger hunt feeling that I really don't get from any comics these days. So kudos to the creative team for that. So yeah, Spider Society is something that was way more fun than I expected it to be. So I'm happy to report on that.
Nice. I don't know if you know this because again, talking about books that we talked about for a lot while it was coming out, and then we stopped talking about them. Birds of Prey.
Yes.
I feel like we were all over Birds of Prey when Kelly launched it.
Yep.
And then we stopped talking about it. And I did not know, maybe you did, that it got canceled. It is over with issue 28. I did not know that until this week. And I it's a real bummer because I read issues 18 through 27 this week.
Oh,
getting
okay.
caught up. And lo and behold, there's one issue left. So Kelly addressed it in her Substack because I guess there was some talk. People thought the book was canceled at her request because she's busy doing other books, but she said no, that in fact is not the case. She very much had a much longer arc planned for these characters, and sales just weren't up to snuff, so it got canceled by DC. So yeah, I think it's if we're being fair, part of the reason that we all stopped talking about the book is because the as is all too common in Big Two comics, the artists continued to shift.
Yeah.
And while Kelly's storytelling remains awesome, I think the artists, which is not to say that the artists that have been on the book over these 3 years haven't been all talented, but I think each one has had a very different style. And so I think that's always tough because it's just hard to keep giving readers a different style and expecting all the readers to be down for it, right? Like, it's one thing if you kind of rotate artists who have similar styles and there's just a vibe with the book, but when you're going from, an artist, like artists who have just totally different approaches, it can be tricky. And I think it was tricky for me too. Like, I think that the last artist on the book, I assume he will also do issue 28 since he's done the last few issues. Simon Basri is very good. So I think like they've rounded back into form, but I think there was a period there where I thought the art was kind of a little more pedestrian. Not bad, but just more pedestrian. Whereas when the book started, it was, with Fernandez and Kelly, it was just so special. So I think that it's weird to talk about this now, 18 through 27, knowing that we only have one issue left of the series. Because I'll tell you what, after closing the pages on 27, I can't fathom how they're wrapping this up in another 22 pages. I don't. So it's definitely going to be feel rushed, I think. For a good chunk of the last year, this book has revolved around the same villains, which is a new group of villains called the Shadow Army. It is a group of characters, both new and old. Now, admittedly, I know very little about most of these characters, even the old ones. But I know some existed, some did not. You've got Copperhead, who I know has been around for a while. You've got Damon Prime, like Daemon, who I believe is new. Some appears to be the leader for the most part. You've got Golden Lion, who is married to Velvet Tiger. Now I know Velvet Tiger has been around for a long time. Golden Lion, I believe, is new. Basically a male version of Velvet Tiger, but with psychic powers. They're the main members of the villain team, but there are others. And the the other thing I will say is, if we remember back in the early issues of Birds, we had this cool group of characters, some of which were classics, right? Like Dinah and Barbara, of course. And then you had like really interesting new characters to the team, and like Barda and Harley, and then you had Cassie Kane, who's been in the Birds before, but just a nice mix. And then you had like Zealot, which was like the weird one, like you had just a nice mix of characters that were like new, old, and completely out of left field. But the premise was in the beginning that it would be like G.I. Joe or Mask, where there was this larger consortium of potential, or JLU, where there's this larger consortium of potential birds, and they would be matched to the mission. And then I don't know quite what happened, but we didn't really get that. Like, I don't think through the course of the series we got that as much. I think after the first big mission, which they were going to rescue Sin, Dinah's niece, goddaughter, I don't know, like her relation, whatever, I forget what her relation is, but we kind of like locked into a core team. And again, it's a core team I thought was well put together. You had Cassie Kane, you had Black Canary, Big Barda, Oracle, and then Sin. So like I think it's like all good. Like I don't have a problem with the team, but it wasn't a rotating cast. Harley went away, Zealot went away, and we didn't really get any new characters so much, other than maybe John Constantine, who was kind of an honorary member. But I thought it was still well done because Kelly's a great writer. And then we meet the Shadow Army, and it's this collection of villains who seemingly are put together by an unnamed, at least at the beginning, an unnamed boss who put these characters together because they are each are good at neutralizing one of the birds, right? Like for example, Copperhead's immune to Dinah's sonic powers, et cetera, et cetera. And hijinks ensue over the course of 8 issues. So I think it's a lot of fun. A lot of cool battles, a lot of cool scenes. One of the more fascinating things is this character Ink, who I don't know if you know that. Remember if that name rings a bell, Dap? But Ink, I guess, is most well known as being one of the main villains of the Batman Beyond cartoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know if Kelly brought Ink into DC Comics, if this is the first time we've seen Ink in the comics, or if she's been around before. But I know her from the cartoon. But she's got a litany of powers, but basically she can possess people, and she possesses at some point during this arc Big Barda. And Big Barda being the badass tank that she is, it's quite a formidable opponent, especially because the birds can't kill her because it's their girl trapped in the body. So that kind of stuff's going on. But yeah, like as we through 27 issues, like we have with 1 issue left, and I'm left wondering after an arc and a half of the Shadow Army. I'm still not quite sure like what the Shadow Army's purposes, why they were put together, what they're trying to accomplish other than fucking with the birds. So it's a little weird, man. Like, I'm not going to say Kelly's off her game, but it feels a little disjointed relative to the really promising start. Now, I think where the criticism is offset to me somewhat is that, and perhaps because Kelly found out a few issues ago this would be the last arc, they get back to the premise, which is that because the threat of the Shadow Army is large enough, the circumstances require Barbara to call in all the other birds. And so in this final arc, we get a litany of other birds members. We get Harley back, we get Zealot back, but we also get Vixen and a bunch of others. I don't have a list handy, but like we get a bunch of other characters participating. So it feels bigger and broader and more epic, which is cool. So all in all, I would say this is like a double into the gap of superhero comics. Like really entertaining, lots of coolness. I think Basri's art is super cool. So I think they began on awesome art, and I think they're ending on really, with some hits or misses in the middle there. And I'm here for it. Like I enjoyed the last arc enough that I'm bummed to find out that no issue left. I've always liked this group of characters. I think it's a super cool idea to have this badass group of women kicking ass and taking names. I hope they're not out of the periphery for too long. But either way, salute to Kelly and her artistic collaborators over the course of the last 2.5 years for, giving us a fun team book. I'm always looking for good team books, and I think this definitely, overall qualified. Acknowledging that I think in the middle there, it got a little less hot.
That's fair. I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now that it's, because I enjoyed during the first year, and yeah, it was something that I ended up just falling wayside, it sucks now that it's ending. At least it's easy to go back to and just finish up. I mean, it doesn't help the creative team. It's not like, hey, Kelly, this was great. It should have kept going. Yeah, well, you should have read it when it was coming out instead of catching up after the fact. So I don't want to blame, but it's at the reader. So yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, it's not a title that's going to go away. That's going to stay dead for long. Someone else will come by and revive it eventually, but.
Yeah, I didn't want to blame you, but I'm glad you're acknowledging that you are the reason this book is getting canceled.
Yes. Yeah, I spent so much time on her Absolute Wonder Woman that I forget she writes anything else.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, I know you're locked in on Jeff Landshark, so, it's like, how many Kelly books can you read?
I can't even... Holy crap. That's a series that'll never die. Jesus. It's like 18 volumes of that already. What else we got? There is something that there's one thing we can tag on for this week, actually.
Word?
Yeah, because the second issue came out this week, but I finally went back and read the first issue. So now I'm all caught up on The City Beneath Her Feet.
Oh, look at you. Well, listen, you had plenty of time to catch up.
Yeah, seriously.
The City Beneath Her Feet #1 came out 13 months ago.
Yeah. And I even had an ash can before that.
I know, dude. We waited a year fucking for the second issue, and I had to check my progressives to make sure I wasn't having a stroke when I saw the second issue in my inbox. I'm like, wait a minute, what? I'm like, we're getting the second issue? Holy shit. Yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, right? It's
December 2024 is the cover date on the first issue.
Okay, so 11 months. So I wasn't quite. So I was saying 13. So 11 months. But yeah, I mean, but that being said, I mean, we finally got. I love the first issue. I was I was very much waiting with bated breath for the continuation. I probably will never have full clarity as to why it took this long. I guess. Maybe that's not important at this point. The fact is we're finally back on track, I guess. Hopefully we won't wait another year for the next issue. But Yeah, of course, this is written by James Tynion the fourth because he writes every book, with incredible art by Elsa Charretier. Charretier. I don't know if it's Charretier. It's probably Charretier. But either way, of course, Love Everlasting and Room Service, etc., etc. Um, this is for those that don't remember because it's been a year since we talked about it. The premise is this badass petite little blonde bombshell of a girl falls in love with another girl, and they have a hot, torrid, super quick romance. Um, the girl she falls in love with is an author, although albeit not particularly successful one, and she, the blonde bombshell, is in fact a badass assassin for hire that works for a shadowy network of assassins, and she makes the mistake of telling her new lover all about her real life, and her lover uses that to write a novel about her, which becomes a bestseller. And as a result of that, her bosses are fucking livid because obviously they don't want their shit aired out in public. Even though her lover positions it as fiction, they're not happy about it because it's way too on the nose, and so they put out a hit on their own, on her, and that's kind of how the first issue leaves us, and then this issue picks up, and I guess I don't know how to talk about this without spoilers, but yeah, our ingenue gets killed. Blondie's our assassin is killed. She's killed for her misdeeds, and so the author lover is now finds herself without a lover, and also she has been surprisingly to her certainly named the beneficiary of so she inherits everything of upon her death, and as we're told, she has $50 million. She gets $50 million, so she's basically set for life. And but she's in her feels. She doesn't know what to make of this because she barely knew the woman. It's not like they were it was hot and heavy, sort of like weekend of love. And so she's vexed as to what she should do. She goes to her apartment. There's assassins waiting for her there. Her lover's ex-handler, who's kind of like a brooding, gigantic, like Amazonian-looking nun. In a nun habit, she's there to help rescue her, and that's kind of where we leave off with the second issue. Um, I First of all, Elsa's artwork is incredible. I love her artistic choices. She's one of those artists like Somni, or Darwin, who just does so much with relatively little ink, right? Like she just knows where to place the ink on the page to evoke emotion and feeling and beauty, and she doesn't ever crowd the page. Lets it breathe, and it works. And she's just a special artist, and I think I think her color play in this is or the color play, I should say. It's Jordie Bellaire, right, that does the colors.
Yeah.
So Jordie's Jordie's earning her Eisner in this book. I think her color work really stands out in this book because the color kind of like takes over tonally like entire pages, it like fills the backgrounds and stuff. And yeah, I love this book, man. I mean, I was so glad to put it back on like a comfy pair of jeans you found in the back of your drawer that you'd forgotten about. I mean, they still fit. They're comfortable. Yeah, I think this is great, and I hope. Well, I should say I hope we're going to have a much more regular cadence now of this until it's finished. What'd you think?
Art's absolutely fantastic. I love the little signs of foreshadowing, because even in the first issue, the author is telling the tale pretty much, and if you don't pick up on it, it appears again in the second issue as she's talking to whoever she's talking to, but she coughs, and she coughs blood. So whether the blood is because she has injuries or maybe the smoking caught up to her, or she's just sick. We don't know yet. I mean, maybe she was poisoned, but there's a lot of questions that one could have as you get through the two issues. But yeah, everything you said about the first issue it's great. I'm bummed because yes, our feisty little Jasper is a great introduction. Love the character, love the attitude, love it all. Only for of course to end up meeting her demise in the second issue, sadly. And there is there's a nun-like figure who not necessarily Jasper's handler, but at least the woman in her ear. But it's also she's also an assassin in her own right. She's extremely deadly with her chain and her not quite sickle. But she warns the women that they need to stay away from each other. And
she reminds me of Tambi from Strangers in Paradise. You know,
I could see that. Okay,
like
yeah,
the big brooding protector
Yep.
partner. You know, yeah,
like that a lot. That's a good callback. The it's once we find out that that we have it's the author, of course, is, I mean, she's not she's not damaged, but she's definitely she's got issues. And yeah, now that the love of her life, if you want to call her that, is gone, and she's trying to pick up the pieces of her life. The Zara, that's the author. She was warned to never go back to Jasper's apartment, but she's not going to listen, because hey, she just inherited the place, so she's going to go check on it, and that's when that's when all hell breaks loose, and it's yeah. I feel for her. I get that. I get that. That just having that connection with someone, even if it's for all the wrong reasons, and not it no good could come of it. I can appreciate that outlook, and the spiral that she now has to that she's going through, and she gets drunk, and that's when the bad guys show up, because because of the book, and because they put the hit out on Jasper. Our Liz may have been the one who was going to cash in on it. She would have made 40 large if she made 40 mil if she took out both Zara and Jasper. But I don't think it went that. I don't think it went the way the boss wanted it to go, because when Liz leaves the restaurant that she was having this conversation in, she's pretty much covered in blood, and so is the entire restaurant. So she made up her mind, and so now she's pissed off at Zara, because Zara's the reason why Jasper's no longer walking the earth, and but because of Jasper, she is now taken upon herself to protect Zara. So this is going to be quite an interesting relationship, providing they make it out of here, because the second issue just, I mean, it just ends. There's a gunfight, and there's smoke bombs going off, and things are getting hectic, and she's trying to rescue the cat, and it's crazy. And between the phenomenal line work and the gorgeous colors, it it reads fast because there's so much movement on the pages. Everything is just moving at a great clip. I love expressions on faces. I feel for Zara when she when she slouches, when she shrinks down into herself, and she's trying to. Obviously, I mean, it's not. She's a lot of this is self-inflicted, but I mean, even when she's doing a little book signing at the little rinky-dink mom and pop bookshop, and she hits it off with one of the employees, and that's a great conversation, and she's hella cute too. And of course, she reminds her of Jasper because
I was going to say, do you
similar.
think? That was my next question. Do you think she's a plant?
I don't want to.
I think they're making too much of it. I think they're making too much of her. Like she's too much of a focal point. I think she's. I think she's gonna.
I wouldn't be surprised if she is, but I would feel that might be a little too on the nose or a little too predictable. Not that it still can't work, and things happen for a reason, and things work because. I
remember she meets her at the book signing at the bookstore, but like. I mean, the girl's like, "Oh, I work here," but it's not like. I mean, she doesn't have to actually work there, right? Like they meet.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. Although the other dude back there was like, "You're looking at, you're doing that thing, you're staring at her." That. So I mean, he works there too.
Yeah. True.
But that's not to say that she. I mean, that could just be your side gig. Maybe she does actually.
Right.
So.
Well, that would be a weird coincidence, though. So I don't know about that. But yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, she could just be her new lover. But I was just thinking, like, it seems like they're spending a little too much time focusing on her that she's going to have a role to play beyond. Yeah. We'll see.
I mean, and it could just be another wrench because I mean now it's someone, because now if she cares about this person, and the mob knows that hey, this is someone else that we can get after to get her, so now the nun's got someone else she's got to rescue. I mean, it can go in a few different
business
directions. So, but it's wild, and it blew my mind when I finished the first issue, and the way it ends. And I'm like, and people waited a year for I'm like, it's not like it didn't like, it's not like it's an annual.
Tell me about it.
Why I feel bad for you. I mean, you had to wait. I got to read one after another, but you had to wait. And but it doesn't even read like that. It reads like, hey, the next issue's coming out right away, and you'll be able to jump back in on it. It felt weird. It felt real weird. But so it's fantastic. I haven't read a ton of things from DSTLRY, but this is absolutely the favorite thing I've read so far.
I mean, that's a little bit of hate on Blood Brothers Mother, but that's cool.
Well, no, because I have the issues. I haven't started it yet.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So no, I do have them. They're queued up. I will get to them, but so maybe this will be the second thing, but as of right now, it's winning by default.
For sure, I get you.
And the quick little Batman-O-Rama, because I did read Night Fight that Vince talked about last week. It was a lot of fun. I did enjoy it, and it was it was Bruce and it was Dick, and it's it's Dick Grayson is now
right. This tiger pit of fucking capitalism with this KO bullshit.
This is the only issue. Well, aside from the KO number 1, this is the only other KO I've read. Although I'm not stopping. I didn't take Superman off my pull list, so whatever issues are tied into that. But yeah, so no. But this was, and even Bruce had some great lines, because he's like he realizes once he's in the future and he's being attacked by all these Robins, and he recognizes how they fight. He's like, there's really only one person who could have trained them. And then when Dick shows up, and Batman's like, I didn't want this for you. And Dick is telling him, well, this is how this world went down. And you went crazy because you put yourself in the Lazarus pit, and so we had to end you. And I'm Batman now. I'm the captain now. And so I'm Batman, and Bruce is like, so instead of you riding off into the sunset, why couldn't you let one of these Robins take over and be Batman? Why do you have to be Batman? And hey, what about?
He's the natural successor to Batman.
He is, but Bruce didn't want it for him. Bruce and Dick is arguing with him. It's like, well,
why
who else was going to do it?
Who gets it? I was going to say, why does Bruce have any fucking say as to whether Dick becomes Batman?
He's Batman. He just, so, but and Bruce is like, well, what about where's Jason? Where's Damian? Where's Tim? And there's a massive statue for all of them. And Dick's like, bro, turn around, man, they're all dead. I'm like, damn, and that was where the issue went. So Vince was right. I mean, the art's great because Moore fucking drew the hell out of it. I love the issue. And then I read the third issue of the Fraction. Jiménez, not George, not Phil. Batman, and this was fun because the Riddler was in it, and or the Riddler is in it. Although we also
Not
get
confused with the Rizzler.
right. No one wants that. But you have there's a little bit of there's a neat little there may be a way out of Batman and Robin getting framed for the murder of a police officer, because there's a kid who was I think for like a school project. He for a school project for civics class. He's recording his neighbor, and he's asking her, how has Gotham changed most in your lifetime? And then they hear the gunfire, and the kid runs out on the fire escape, and he's filming it, and he watches Batman and Robin hobble to the Batmobile so they can drive away, and then he sees Officer Gordon show up, and then this big dude, big guy in a suit. He looks like he could be the boss, and the kid's filming Savage as he takes a Batarang out of his coat pocket and puts it underneath the tarp, and calls over the officers and says, "Hey, we got. Looks like here's the weapon. Here's what did it." So this kid has it on tape of Homeboy trying to frame Batman and Robin. So I mean that might play in everybody's favor. But yeah, no, this was a fun issue. It looks like Tim's boyfriend Bernard, because Bruce shows up to check on Tim in the hospital, and he brings flowers with him, and so while Bruce is there, he's like, hey pal, how you feeling? Tim's like, yeah, Bernard thinks I died in a skiing accident. Nobody told me. But so Bernard, hey Bruce, can we step outside in the hallway for a second? He's like, yeah, Tim needs to rest. And Tim's like eyeballing, side-eyeing what's going on at the door. So Bruce is like, yeah, no, okay, yeah, we can talk. And they walk out into a hallway, and Bernard's hella suspicious. He's like, listen, man, I realized something funny the other day. Whenever you and Tim go off on your little, bro weekends or whatever, he always comes back all bruised and beaten all to hell. Like, what the hell? Like, don't you think that's a little weird, man? Like, what's up with that? It's like, it just seems to me that whenever he spends time with you, he gets hurt. And then he grabs the flowers from Bruce and walks away. He says, hey man, these are lovely, thanks. And Bruce is just like, he's just standing there, like, digging his hand. He's just like, oh, okay. And he leaves. So now Tim's boyfriend thinks his future father-in-law is beating his fucking kid. And there's still some great conversations between Bruce and Alfred. But yeah, Riddler is just kind of going a little haywire, spitting out riddles left and right, and it's just there. He can't stop, and it looks like he whatever it might be tied into what caused Croc to do what he did in the first issue of this series. So there's a deeper issue going on, something nefarious happening. But yeah, solid third issue. Hopefully, I'm not expecting this little frame job to put the nail in Savage's coffin. I don't think we can get rid of him that quickly, that easily. But it's a start. But yeah, third issue, a lot of fun. Really enjoying what Fraction and Jiménez are doing on Batman.
There you go. Well, there it is.
There it is. I think we've got our In Your Travel. So,
Looks like our Bo didn't make it tonight.
no, he did not. I'm going to guess that my man was tired.
Yeah.
We'll send Maria a text later. We'll
Yeah,
check on
for
him.
the listeners, I assume most of you, Vince is, he'll be on when he can. I mean, the I think he intends to be on with relative frequency, but obviously some days are easier than others to have the
True
energy
that.
to do this at night. So yeah,
Yeah, so I'm sure he probably won't want to go too long without making an appearance. So I'd like to think that he'll be stopping by next week, but we will see. And maybe he can chime in on the Slack, let everybody know how he's doing. So since we did not hear from Vince tonight, we'll take this opportunity to remind you all that this episode was sponsored by cheapgraphicnovels.com. All of your graphic novel, trade paperback, hardcovers, omnibus, absolutes, whatever, DC Finest collections, and there are a ton of them now, can all be found at cheapgraphicnovels.com. I have my shipment coming. I ordered the two Gundam Origin books. I ordered, speaking of Tom, I ordered the Tom and Bill Supergirl book. Finally, I'm going to finally read that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that box that's on its way. You can find us on patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. It's 11 o'clock comics. Check out the membership tiers. Hang out with us on the Slack. That's always fun. Questions and answers. Show off your art. Tell everybody how you're doing. We got a health and fitness channel. Got all the memes. A lot of fun. You can find us on the socials. Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, and anywhere. You can get us anywhere you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podcatch, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, anywhere you feel your ear holes, you can find this podcast. In Your Travels, this just caught my eye because primarily, well, it's written by Peter Milligan, who I'm a fan of. I enjoy a lot of Peter's writings. But what caught my eye was the art by Peter Kowalski, who seems to be as prolific as Hayden Sherman and Dan Mora and Zawadzki. I mean, there's some artists who I'm so glad that we get so much work from so many of these young artists. Unlike some of their contemporaries who do an issue and a half and need to take a break. But this series by Mad Cave, The Liquidator, or just Liquidator, and colored by Brad Simpson. First issue, it's a story about time travel. We start off in New York in 1891, but she there's something called the Departure Lounge that this woman is starting to kind of like just fade away. She's not her body isn't in the right timeline. 1891 is rejecting her, and so we kind of jump around a little bit, and 135 years later, this woman is looking at a bunch of books, and there's one called The Feminine Mystique, and it really she's not quite sure why this book is why she's drawn to this particular book, but she seems to be going back and forth between a whole bunch of different times. It's the year 1354, then it's 1876 in the Austrian Empire, 1700 the North American colony. She's just remembering all these different times that she's kind of lived or been through, and we see as the issue continues, and it looks like she's even trying to end her own life, but she can't. There was a train coming, but she runs off the tracks at the last second. So she ends up at this place called the decompression chamber, but people call it the empty room. It's basically just white space. It's been emptied out of time, and we get a little bit of of how she got here. And there's this person, Niles Portillo. He was hired by the Huairí in 1956 after being fired from the I Love Lucy TV show, and we see how he met this young woman, Aubrey, and Aubrey was Aubrey's being introduced to what a liquidator is. And a liquidator is an operative who travels through time liquidating runaways and fixing things that just shouldn't be there. And she's like, well, this is bullshit because time travel is a scientific impossibility. And he says, well, yeah, it is right now. But by the year 3049, it'll be developed by the Huairí, and that's who sent me. And things will be explained. In the first issue, I mean, this was pretty much just a setup, and it's kind of it's intentionally jumping around. It made me feel uneasy, so I can only imagine how Aubrey's feeling. But you have you kind of get up to speed relatively quickly, and so she's being sent back to 1891 because a copy of the Feminine Mystique is there. And if anybody finds that book, because it's not supposed to be written for over a century from now, if anybody finds that book, things aren't going to go well. And so it's like basically she's just going back in time to fix things, and or jumping around time to fix things and put things back in order. Similar to Doctor Who in a way, but and even your body even has to get used to like living in a certain era, and there's this whole like sound stage that kind of sets you up mentally and physically to prepare you for the move, for the jump. And now that she's back in 1891, there's almost like a Jack the Ripper type character. John Hawksmoor is going around hunting women, and when Aubrey shows up back then, and she's a little uneasy because, again, I guess your body has to get acclimated. It reminds me of another comic story where if you basically your body, or actually no, it was Star Trek Discovery, because when with Georgiou being from the mirror universe, your body eventually you're going to get sick because your body, your internal clock, your internal mechanisms, everything about you is you're tied to that universe. You can't just like pluck somebody out and put them somewhere else because they just things don't fit right. So Georgiou's body was rejecting being in this universe. So that's what this reminded me of. And she gets a little sick, and she falls to her knees, and this gentleman shows up and he says, "Oh, please let me help you. The hospital's nearby. I can take you there." And she's like, "Who are you?" And he goes, "Oh, well, I'm John Hawksmoor. I'm at your service." So now she's face to face with the killer. So that's the end of the issue. I dig the art a lot. I will be back for the second issue because it is time travel, and I'm a fan of that. I'm every once in a while, Mad Cave surprises me. They do have some books that just seem a little weird. It's like, how did this get? Who greenlit this? But every once in a while, they also have a book that they pull out a writer like Peter Milligan, and with a weird freaking story. So I'm here for that. So in your travels, Liquidator by Milligan, Kowalski by Mad Cow.
Man, you lost me at Doctor Who, dog.
It was a comparison. It had nothing to do with nothing. My God.
Comparison Doctor Who, and I go limp, man.
Good Lord. Some people.
Yeah, no, that's tough.
Anyway,
No, that sounds good. It sounds good. Yeah, just if we could just scratch those 4 seconds out where you mentioned Doctor Who, would be good. All right, so I mentioned I had a couple books that were challenging this week. So my Inner Travels is the other one, and so in your travels, please do check out a wonderful little. It's tiny. It's like fit in your back pocket. It's like I don't know. It's like 4x6 maybe, hardcover called Dogtangle. Dogtangle, all one word. Dogtangle by Max Huffman. It is Max has been around the block on the indie scene for a long time, but mostly zines and anthologies. This is his first graphic novel, and it is a hoot, but it is challenging, and I'll tell you why. I'll read you this solicit. A satirical comedy about an ambitious power couple in a bleak corporate landscape who defy God and nature to create a modern Cerberus. One of the most visually distinctive and funny graphic novels in recent memory, Dogtangle is underpinned with a deep mistrust of corporate and cultural hegemony, cementing its relevance in our increasingly oligarchical times. Sounds like a handful, and it is. So, this is a trip, man. But it's challenging because it's not in really any way linear. Uh, the book opens at a town hall meeting. I don't know small towns. I know Dap does. I know I do. If you've ever been to like a town council meeting, it's usually at the town center with like a third full room. People get up there and they talk about their grievances. It's usually like, oh, my street sign is crooked, or oh, like the dogs bark in my neighborhood too. It's like it's all like petty shit. They'll be like, oh, now we're gonna recognize veteran. It's like it's that kind of thing. It's really sort of quirkily, locally bureaucratic. So we open in one of those settings, and there's a man sort of complaining about zoning laws. And then next order of business is a woman who wants to talk about a business presentation, and her name is Caressa Vignette, and she works for a pharmaceutical company, and she gets up and presents sort of her pitch for wanting to do some business in their town. But she and the gentleman who was complaining about the zoning laws, Vernon Smith, sorry, Smith like filth, Vernon Smith and Caressa Vignette, they couple up. They boo up, and they end up getting married. And from there, her being sort of this corporate magnate, corporate sort of shill and capitalist, she needs a new idea, like a new business line for her company, and they come up with this idea of the hypermutt. And the hypermutt, as it turns out, is this many-headed mass of dogs that absorbs each new dog it encounters. And the idea is that like one dog to rule them all, like a dog that's all dogs at once, such that it would be super appealing to everybody forever. Again, very weird, very psychedelic, very trippy. Hence the Dogtangle. And then from there we get a lot of like story threads that kind of play into that, where that deal with like marketing and capitalism and advertising and like social class warfare with the elite versus the working class. It's just a lot of ideas that Huffman's working, throwing them out there. I think the strong suit of this book is the art. His art is not in any way inaccessible or abstract. It's very, very tight, very cartoony. Looks a lot like a Ralph Bakshi cartoon in many ways. But he chooses by design to make many of the characters' faces like cubist painting type faces, very angular, with sharp geographical shapes for eyes, that type of thing. But like outside of that, the rest, like I said, the cartooning is very evocative of a Bakshi and much more visually accessible. It's just Huffman kind of riffing on like all the shit that's fucked up in our world now. Just the power of the elite, the power of the wealthy, the power of corporate brand and social media. And like I said, there's like vignettes and there's threads, and sometimes the thread takes you down a lane and you're like, oh, I get it, and it's funny. Other times it takes you to a place and you're like, oh, that's weird. I'm not quite sure what he's trying to say here. There's a flashback chapter, which makes really, well, I mean, it makes sense as a standalone, but it doesn't quite understand where it fits into everything else. So yeah, I mean, he's kind of getting his shit off. It's I enjoyed it for what it was, but again, even as I'm sitting here telling you in your travels, like I struggle exactly to tell you like what it's about per se. Is it more? It's more just kind of his. It's like a fever dream about all these things that he thinks are wrong with the world, and he's trying to tell a story about them all at once. And I think some chapters succeed more than others, but I applaud the effort, and I think it looks great. So, if you're feeling like you want to get into your social, political, demographic criticism bag and want to do it in a really compelling visual package, then do yourself a favor and check out Dogtangle by Max Huffman through Fantagraphics.
Sounds fantastic. It looks good too.
It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, it looks great. It's like I said. It's these are challenging books. Like these are not things like, I often think of Brian Deemer because shout out to Deemer and CGS. Like Deemer in the CGS heyday used to always be the guy that he would unapologetically say that he was never looking for subtext in books. He just wanted surface level entertainment, and that always baffled me because I'm like, bro, you're a grown ass man. Like, how do you not want subtext? But the point is, there are lots of people out there that just want their comics to be what they are and make them happy, and that's totally reasonable. If that's your main lot in life, the two books I brought to you tonight are not those books. But if you like weirder shit that's going to make you think and kind of make you feel like you took some shrooms even if you didn't, then the books I talked about tonight are your vibe.
I like it. Okay.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. And on that.
Oh, also,
buddy.
wait, time out. Sorry, one last thing. No, because it's geek adjacent. Do go check out Predator Badlands if you have not. It was fucking great. Oh, I fucking loved it. Yeah, I really loved it. It was super fun, man. It was like totally fun. I went by myself. I was, as you know, I was bachelor this weekend. My wifey and remaining at home non-college kiddo were both in Florida. So Friday night I went to the movies by myself and saw Predator Badlands and loved every second of it. It was great.
I still have to. Is it a sequel to Prey?
No,
or is it just another movie in the franchise?
Yeah, same director, but
okay.
It's same director as the cartoon that came out.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, but no, it's unrelated. No, the premise of this one is like a runt of the litter, like a predator who's kind of young and smaller than the other predators. So his dad hates him. So he's kind of like he goes off to kill the biggest, baddest beast in the universe to earn his place, to earn his not only earn his place in the tribe, but also I guess it's kind of like coming of age. If you do earn your place, you get your cloaking. The cloaking that we are so familiar with the predators.
Okay.
And he goes to this planet to try and find this beast, and and then hijinks ensue.
Okay. I am behind on some things, but okay. Yeah, I still have to watch Prey. I have to watch the cartoon, and then okay. Nice. I am glad. Yeah, I mean, because even Cliff said undug it, so that was nice to see. Kids learning a lot the past couple of weeks. Saw some
Baptism.
Predator. Saw some baptism in
some
blood.
Predator, some ass, some titties,
Jesus.
some blood. Yeah.
What time
Shout out to Owen Lewis.
Living his best life.
Coming of age.
Big time. Damn. Thanks for listening, everybody. You could have been listening to anything, but you were listening to this, so we appreciate you for that. We will be back next week, and hopefully we will. It'll be a threesome, and we'll have more good book to talk about. So have a wonderful evening. Enjoy your weekend. Yeah, still too early to say Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. So we'll save that for later. Peace, y'all.
Deuces.
That's it for that one.